We now welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Andrew Green, Executive Director of the International Zinc Association, representing the IZA. Thank you so much for joining us to shed light on the industry. The IZA is the only organization dedicated exclusively to the interest of zinc and its users. The mission is to sustainably grow markets and operate R&D initiatives, technology transfer, and communicate the value of zinc. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with everyone. Zinc's got a great story, and I'm always happy to share that story with the group. So I've just got a couple slides to highlight here. What I wanted to focus on really with the discussion is, I think the other speakers did a great job. I think very exciting discussion about the zinc that they're going to be producing in the future. And what I'd like to talk about is where that zinc is needed and will be used going in the future. So next slide, please. One slide on self-promotion, but for those of you not aware of the International Zinc Association, what we do, this is a short list of some of those items. But to put it succinctly, we are the global champion and voice for the zinc industry. We do programs that benefit the zinc industry, growing and protecting markets, ensuring license to operate, and communicating all the many benefits and positive stories about zinc as a sustainable material. Next slide. Oh, back one slide. There you go. So what I want to focus on really with just the next couple slides is you hear a lot about low carbon economy. You hear a lot about electrification. And with these discussions, everyone's focusing on copper and lithium and a few others for good reason. Those are certainly critical components that will be needed as we go into this future time. But by the end of this talk, I hope you're going to be agreeing with me that zinc is right up there with those. It plays a critical role in all these different aspects that I'm showing here on this slide, as well as others. So battery storage, tremendous growth that's been predicted and forecast, and we're seeing it right now with our very eyes on a daily basis or weekly basis, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a second. Wind generation, zinc is used to help protect those offshore towers. That's the number one use of zinc is to protect steel from corrosion. And corrosion on a global GDP basis costs the world about 4 to 5% GDP. So if you can protect that steel with zinc, and that's the best way to protect the steels with zinc, you can save a lot of costs, reduce the long-term life cycle costs, and increase sustainability that way. So wind generation is a key area, and the CRU is estimated by 2030, an additional 66,000 tons of zinc will go into that marketplace. Solar panels, there's solar panel farms going up all over the world, US and elsewhere. And again, you need strong structures that are protected, steel structures that are protected with zinc. And CRU is estimating around 160,000 tons of zinc is going to be required by 2030. So we're not talking that far out in the future. A lot of information about infrastructure, and certainly in the US, we've got passage of bills that is going to invest a great deal of money into that infrastructure, and zinc needs to be right there with steel to protect it for the crash barriers, for the rebar, to ensure that those buildings go up, they stay up, they're sustainable and safe. And then, when I talk with people about automotive and electric vehicles, there's a tremendous role that zinc plays there, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. So zinc and automotive, the automotive market represents about 700,000 tons of zinc use in those auto bodies directly, but really it's over 1 million tons of zinc that's going into that automotive sector each year. And this is an exciting area for zinc, because not only is it a large market right now, but it's growing. You can see here we're estimating about 22% growth by 2030, and that's mainly coming from the fact, if you look at some of the emerging markets like India and China shown here, the global average for use of zinc in protecting steel in automotive is around 95%. In China, you only have about 50% of the cars that are protected with zinc, and in India, only about 20%. And when you recognize that India and China have the fastest growing middle classes, the forecasts in the economy of those two countries alone. When we look at the increased penetration, getting that zinc up from 20% and 50% closer to 90%, even if we got to 75%, we're talking hundreds of thousands of additional zinc that's going to be required for that. And then on the EV side of things, a lot of people think that that's a marketplace that zinc might be losing out on, and that's far from reality. If you look at Tesla 3, they switched from aluminum body to the high strength steel that's protected with zinc. These other manufacturers, pretty much every car that's putting out, every automotive manufacturer that's putting on EV is now using galvanized or zinc protected high strength steel. And that's because you're adding such tremendous mass of the battery to increase the distance that they can go, that you need to have that extra strength in the body itself to prevent and ensure safety in the case of a crash, what have you. So you really need the galvanized high strength steel in those car bodies going forward to protect it, give it the strength it needs. And it's getting lighter and lighter as work on alloys goes forward. So it's a very positive story for us to look at in the EV market as well. Next slide, please. And one other market area that I really want to touch on, just tremendous growth opportunity, is the zinc and energy storage market. We've looked at zinc chemistry for automotive, and honestly, it's not that great of a fit for a number of different reasons. But if you look at energy storage, where there's been just tremendous forecasts of growth by Bloomberg and others, and we're seeing it, I think on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, with the increased requirements. We just had the Hurricane Ian come through, and those are a few very clear examples of where you want to have that energy storage, but just to safeguard the electrification as we switch to less and lower carbon emissions, going to things like solar power and wind power and so forth. You have to have a secure, steady, and reliable energy storage for that energy to go into and store it and release it over long periods of time when it's needed. And zinc chemistry fits that beautifully. It's got the long duration storage that you need. It's safe. I'm not going to mention names here, but I can say without hesitation that you don't have to worry about fire hazards with zinc batteries, what have you. It is a secure supply chain. So some of the other minerals that are being looked at in the energy storage market will have some supply chain issues that are critical. And then, of course, it's sustainable. It can be recycled at end of life, reused. And the market predictions here that are shown are very exciting. So by the year 2030, we're looking at increased use of zinc by 150,000 tons. By 2040, almost 1 million tons. And you go out to 2050, you're talking 2.8 million tons additional zinc being used in that marketplace. So all the zinc that the previous speakers were talking about will very much be needed to go into these markets. Next slide, please. And this is just my summary slide, but I'm not going to read these to you. You can read those as you want. But the main point here is when you look at what's happening with society going towards electrification, towards low carbon economies and so forth, zinc is absolutely essential and will play a key role in those, whether it's the automotive sector, the energy renewable sector, the energy storage sector. We have a key role to play, and the demand is going to increase significantly as we go forward. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us to shed light on the industry.
My pleasure.
Sure. One quick question, I guess, that I would have in mind is about, obviously the battery space is a hot topic, and with zinc air batteries, how do you see the growth potential there, and what projects are you familiar with that where people are utilizing them?
Sure. The nice thing for zinc batteries as a whole is there's a number of different chemistries that are already at the stage of sales and so forth. So you've got zinc air, you've got zinc nickel and zinc bromine, flow batteries, and so forth. All of those have their strengths, so different applications and so forth. And really with the zinc air, as well as a number of those others, the energy storage looking to support the energy grid systems for housing. For example, I have solar panels on my house. I'm head of the Zinc Association, so I'm not going to get a lithium battery pack on my house. I'm waiting and looking forward to adding a zinc battery pack to my house to provide that energy storage. And Zinc Air provides a great solution to that.